How do you know if a virtual speech therapist is actually a good one? Because here's the truth, not all teletherapy is created equal. And whether you're a parent, a school district, or even an SLP exploring virtual work, the difference between an okay therapist and a high quality one can completely change outcomes for a student. So if you've ever wondered, what should I actually be looking for in a virtual speech therapist? This episode is for you. Hi, I'm Ellie, an SLP and the host of the Essential Teletherapist Podcast, dedicated to building community between remote speech language pathologists and helping you feel confident and supported in teletherapy. Whether you're fully virtual or just starting to explore it, you're in the right place. In today's episode, we're talking about what makes a high-quality virtual speech therapist. I'm going to walk you through the core clinical and professional skills that actually matter, what school districts and families should be looking for, and a few red flags that can make or break therapy. By the end, you'll know exactly how to evaluate whether a virtual speech therapist is the right fit for you. Let's jump in. It starts with clinical skill always. First and foremost, a virtual speech therapist has to be a strong clinician. Teletherapy doesn't replace clinical skill, it reveals it. And at the foundation, we're still talking about accurate assessment, appropriate goal writing, progress monitoring, and the ability to adjust therapy when something isn't working. And this is true whether therapy is in person or virtual. But here's what I've seen in my own practice. The therapists who are most effective are the ones who understand that every student learns differently and they adapt in real time. Not every activity or approach works for every student. Not every strategy works, and that's okay. A strong clinician knows how to pivot, so let's take that a step further. This is the piece people don't always talk about, but it makes a huge difference. A great virtual speech therapist is organized. Because in teletherapy, you're not just working with a student, you're coordinating with families, teachers, paraprofessionals, administrators, and anyone else in that student's wheelhouse. If your systems aren't clear, everything can start to feel confusing. In my own practice, I rely heavily on structured systems like Google Form surveys, email templates, and project management software, clear communication, and routines. And what that does is it removes the guesswork for me. Families know what's happening, teachers know what to expect, administrators feel confident in the services that are being delivered. And you might be seeing this in your own setting. When communication is clear, everything runs very smooth. And when problems arise, they're much easier to fix. Teletherapy is a skill, not just a service delivery model. And this is a big one. Virtual speech therapy is not just in-person therapy on screen. It requires its own set of skills, things like keeping students engaged, managing attention, structuring sessions differently, using digital tools effectively. And this is why experience matters. If you're a parent or a school district, I always recommend asking your candidates, how long have you been providing teletherapy? What age groups do you have experience working with? How do you keep students engaged? Because engagement doesn't happen by accident. And this is where teletherapy really changes things. When it's done well and students are engaged, they're not just participating, they're enjoying therapy. And that's where learning happens. In my own practice, what I found is this: engagement is everything. I've worked with students who struggled to participate in other settings, but in teletherapy, something clicked. Sometimes it's because they're in their home, they're incorporating their interest. Sometimes it's just the structure of the session. But when a student feels successful and interested, that's when progress happens. As a parent myself, I can tell you there is nothing better than seeing your child want to participate in therapy. And there are a few other qualities that really matter too. A strong virtual therapist is reliable, consistent, and collaborative. I would even argue creative. They show up on time, they follow through, they communicate appropriately with the school team and the family because Therapy doesn't happen in isolation. It's part of a bigger ecosystem supporting that student's success. Let's talk about a red flag moment. I always encourage people to watch for this. It's inflexibility. If something isn't working and the therapist isn't adjusting, that's a problem. Speech therapy should be responsive and child led. The best clinicians are constantly asking, is this working for this student? And if not, they change the approach. If you take one thing away from this episode, let it be this. A great virtual speech therapist is not defined by the platform they use or the games and tools they use. They're defined by their clinical skill, their ability to engage students, and the systems they use to support communication with consistency. If this episode was helpful, I would love for you to share it with another SLP, parent, or educator who's navigating virtual services. If you're looking for teletherapy support or want to learn more about how I structure my systems, you can find those resources below. And if you're an SLP thinking about transitioning into teletherapy, this is exactly the kind of work I support clinicians with. I love it. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next episode.